Welcome to another edition of the E-Spot with Camille. The E-Spot is your location for the latest in entertainment, beauty, and design from the people who make it. Thanks for joining.
When I'm in it, and she never be pretending, nothing is real. She gon' tell you what she bought it, cause she know you can't afford it. Know you can get it, looking exquisite, no competition, stay on the pin.
So today I have the honor of being with a comedy legend who is still out there creating laughs, making people see the history of behind black comedy, and I'm just so amazed to be able to call him a friend as well. So we're here with Guy Torry.
Did you hear about Phat Tuesdays?
How'd you hear about Jesus? People told you.
This is how we do it. It's 1995. Comics back then were predominantly white, and I said, man, there's so many funny people doing comedy in the hood, but there was no one there to see them. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna change that shit.
Guy was like, Hollywood don't want to come to the hood, so let's take the hood to Hollywood.
Every Tuesday is in this room. Phat Tuesday.
I had no idea what the fuck I was doing.
I saw Chris Rock, Chris Tucker,
Martin Lawrence, Jamie Foxx,
Kevin Hart.
Every week, sold out.
It was the neighborhood.
For the first time,
Like, genius shit.
Stand-up comedy for black comedians, it was born out of some specific...
Now, we may have perfected it. I mean, yeah, we may snatch a purse, but we didn't steal a whole country and call it the United States.
I had some fun here tonight.
Please introduce yourself.
Guy Torry in the place to be got kicked out of YouTube University.
I love that. I love that you always open up with that. So when did that start even with you?
You know, it started, that whole thing started when I did a podcast I created called 31 Cents. And no, I think it started with Tom Joyner Show. Tom Joyner Morning Show, I think I started doing that.
It's hard to keep up when your resume is forever.
Stuff. It's so much. I think I started doing it on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. I wanted an intro when they say, hey, Guy. Because I used to always, big fan of the Breakfast Club. And DJ Envy had his, hey, this is DJ Envy. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool and catchy. And he opens up the show like that. So I, kind of copycat it from the Breakfast Club.
I mean, if it's not fixed, why not?
Hey.
Why not just extend on it? So
Exactly.
You've worked with a million people. You've worked from comedy. You've worked in acting. You worked in film. Like everything. Radio. Obviously, you're talking about the Joyner Morning Show. So, was there ever a time when you were just like, I can't do this anymore? And how did you overcome that feeling?
Well, there's a lot of moments like that with Phat Tuesdays, a documentary that I created, and the night that I created, it was a moment of I was doing too much. You know, if you've seen the documentary on Amazon Prime, you'll see that I had a lot going on. I had to stop something, and that was what I stopped. You know, acting. I had stopped acting for a minute because it's just the business got a little bit too crazy, and as you get older, it's hard for you to fall for the okie doke. When you're young, you're trying to get on, you fall for some of the, the stuff they put you through in Hollywood and the mind games and all that stuff. But as you get older, you're like, man, I ain't doing this no more. And then you get to a point where you miss it and you try to find that balance of I still love it, but I ain't going for the okie doke. And you got to keep your integrity and your while you keep your passion for the art. So that was really the only thing that I kind of was like, I can't do this anymore. Radio was always fun. Radio just ended because Tom Joyner retired. But if there's another opportunity that came up, I would probably do radio again. Radio was so much fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's a consistent gig too. Every week.
And that's why everybody has a podcast now, because it's kind of like radio. It's like, so it's a chance for you to talk and give your opinion on whatever's going on in the world or whatever's going on in your life. So it's good because of communication.
So there's a lot of hot topics going around. And I have to mention, it would be amazing to hear your take on some of these things, because there's been a lot of comedians in the news. I'm not going to even go with the slap it's boring by now. But
the slap is never boring.
Tell more.
Everybody's version of the slap is different. You know, it's like how they would. Of course, everybody would have said, you know, it wouldn't happen to them because that's the male ego.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't expect it. Like, I don't think Chris Rock knew that Will Smith was coming to hit him. So.
No. He surely didn't know. So it's not boring because it's fun to hear the different takes, the different points of view on it. I recently saw Marlon Wayans do his stand up, and his take on it was by far the best I've heard. Well, I don't want to spoil it for a special. Yeah, it's not out yet. So
to look forward to.
Yeah, so look for Marlon Wayans' special. He has the best take on the whole slap thing I've ever heard. So, but no, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it was wrong. Everybody was wrong, and I don't want to give mine because I'm doing mine on stage as well. But you know, it's that I'll give a little piece of it. It's that look. When a black woman gives you that look, yeah, you better do something.
If you want to have dinner or maybe a little bit more, I definitely would understand that. Now, so in your Phat Tuesday special, a certain comedian, he says that you're like his godfather. And since he's become a father to like 11 children, do you ever say, hey, it's time to stop? Like, I'm tired of being godfather?
No, hey, look, Nick Cannon is being fruitful and multiplying. That's what God put us on this earth to do, and he's taking care of all of his kids. So, you know, it's his prerogative. If he wants to have 100 kids, why not? Didn't Abraham have a whole bunch of kids? Abraham had a whole bunch of kids.
I mean, times are different. We have inflation.
Hey, he's a mogul. He's good. As long as he's taking care of all his kids, I don't see why anybody has anything to say about how many kids a man or woman should have.
Well, I think one thing that I've been hearing a lot of, it's hard to devote that much time because he does have so many moguls and businesses. And how do you be not an unfit father in that situation?
Well, I mean, it's going to have to happen. I mean, it's better than, you know, a little time than none at all. There's some people out there who have one kid and they ain't devoting a lot of time to it, or any time, or not in that kid's life. So, you know, shout out to Nick for juggling everything. And I'm sure he has strong, you know, the moms are strong. They can handle it and fill in the blanks. Women are tough, especially women of color. They're tough. Y'all can handle it.
That's true.
Not that that's an excuse not to be present. You know, women don't want to handle it on by themselves, but they can.
Yeah, it's definitely easier with a partner, I would say. But now, has there been any other topics that aren't in your special that you do kind of like, dang, I wish I could talk about this on the radio? Has there been anything else that's...
I talk about it on stage, so, you know, it's so much. Sometimes it's hard to fit it all in within, you know, getting the hot topics that people want to hear, you know, that you want to talk about, but also you want to get into jokes you wrote too, the other jokes you wrote. So it's you got to find that balance, you know, of what the funniest ones and what you have a good point of view on.
Yeah. So to flip the script a little, because you were great in a lot of the films and TV shows you've worked in, and it's been a while since we've seen you in any acting. What for you, was there ever a time, even with that, where people just kind of wanted to pigeonhole you or try to get you to do things that you didn't want to do in acting or filming? Because, you know, there's that whole standard of like, to be a black man, you have to dress like a woman, you have to do all these different things, like Martin Lawrence we're at Big Mama's house, or, you know, Joanna Man. And so like, has anybody approached you about some of these films that...
Well, I mean, pigeonhole is something that I've never been done. I've never been pigeonholed other than, you know, I mean, I've done enough stuff to where you see my range, from American History X to the movie TRIPPIN to the movie Life to, you know, sitcoms, playing a cop, a janitor, or a 1 hour series playing a detective. So I've never been pigeonholed other than being, you know, black. But as far as the whole dress thing, you know, a lot of these guys choose to put it on, meaning that Martin wanted to play his mom. Martin wanted to play, you know, Shanae, a character that he knew, or like his sister. And you know, when it's done like that, it's not, I don't see a problem with it. You know, it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not good at it. I wish I was a good enough actor to pull it off. I just can't. You know, Tyler Perry wanted to play, you know, my dear. But when it's given to you and say, here, you're going to do this and you do this, that's a different element if you don't want to do it. If it's something you want to do, cool. But if it's something that you're fighting hard against to do and someone's trying to push it on you, that's why I have a problem with it. Okay. You know, because, I mean, you look at Flip Wilson was, like, you know, from back in the day, he's kind of one of the first to kind of do it as African-American. and it's something he chose to do. It's not something that they made him do. Right. So that's the difference in when you talk about putting on dresses and things like that.
Now, is there a character that you haven't played that you do want to play?
1,000. There's so many different. Any character. Well, I don't
One
have to put
that's
on.
paying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes I don't pay. Sometimes you do passion projects. Sometimes you do some that it's a character that you really want to play. It's a good script, but you got an up and coming filmmaker who needs, a solid cast or some recognizable names or faces that if you like the project and it's everybody's respectful, then you do those things. So it's not, you don't always have to be in a big studio movie. If you love the craft, you love what you do, and all the elements are right, then why not?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of times people could get to a point and they're like, well, I'm at this point in my career, I don't need to go back and do those kinds of things. But it's good still.
To each his own. To each his own. I mean, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. I'm not mad at anybody who chooses to do that. I try to go by the project, not the budget.
Oh, that's good to hear. And good for any of those up-and-coming directors that want Guy Torry in their film. If it's good enough, you might get a chance.
Yeah, you got to be on point with it, though. You got to be professional. Just because you don't have a big budget doesn't mean you can't be professional. You still have to show up on time. The material still has to be great. You still have to treat, the cast and the crew with respect. So it doesn't, respect is everything.
Now, one thing I loved about when I was watching your film, Phat Tuesdays, which is on Amazon Prime, your need to help women in comedy. And it was so important for you to always have at least one female comedian performing every night on Phat Tuesdays, but even still, like having them as openers or different projects. You've always been that kind of guy that's, instead of being a gatekeeper, you're one of those that lets people in, open the gate open for others to come in. Where did that come from? Where did that stem from?
I guess my mom and dad, the way we're wired. But I will say my brother Joe who was always have at least one woman on the show, with no quid pro quo. So that this is the way we were raised. I mean, Joe and I were raised in the same household. Sometimes you can't tell, but it was his when I was early. In the early stages of stand up and doing Phat Tuesdays, it was him saying that, to do that. But it's just the way we're wired. We weren't wired to exclude anybody. My mom was a strong, black woman who had to raise us on her own when my dad was deployed overseas, fighting in, the wars and overseas and everything. So, we come from a strong, all my sisters are strong. I have 3 sisters. They're very strong and independent black women. When they need to be. So, yeah, it just comes from upbringing.
No, I like that, though, because my father is the same way with him and Preston. They always try to do projects together and so on.
Preston?
And like Holmes.
Okay.
Yeah,
sorry. What? Yeah.
Preston Holmes. Dwight Williams, Preston
I knew it was. But, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Preston's a great guy.
He is an amazing guy. But there's...
Preston,
a lot of times
Preston,
in the younger generation, you don't see that sometimes,
right.
Where they try to pitch people together, even in the fashion world, where there's like Naomi
every
and
industry.
Tyra. Every industry where they try to pitch black people together because there hasn't been as many opportunities.
Exactly.
So now I feel like that's starting to change more because there's more black-owned, not just studios, but also just black creators are making
we have to we as black people have to stop them from doing that. We can't buy into it. When they try to do it, we have to stop it. So it's up to us. We can't blame everything on everybody else. We got to take ownership in some of it.
Right. And I'm glad that you do that. And in the documentary you mentioned that a lot, and everybody was singing your praises for how much you've helped them and they got their start from you. Now I wonder,
there's a bunch of people who feel opposite, though. Don't get it twisted. We tried to get them in there, but everybody wasn't singing roses.
Oh. Look, see, Torry, now I'm trying not to make sure I don't say anything that's off that we talk about off air, but I'm curious for you, is there someone that you're like, I will never work with again?
Well, yeah, of course. There are some people like that, and some people were upset that they weren't in the documentary. And I definitely...
That's part 2.
Well, no, they ruined it for that because the way they reacted from not being in part 1. I mean, a lot of these people who weren't in it understand the business. They understand. They've done projects that they exec produced and created themselves, so they know how the game goes. And it wasn't like I wasn't trying to get them in. It's like when you're working on a project and you have A-list actor and you have someone who's not on those lists, and the one who's signing the check, who's writing the check and signing the check, they're going to most likely pick Don't care how long you fight for somebody you want, but it just makes sense to have the person who brings the boys to the yard, basically. You know, the money, the eyes, the eyeballs to the screen. And if they're telling a similar story, I mean, who are you gonna go with? A-list actor, or you know, someone who's not known yet, who's not gonna bring any eyes to it. You know, and we have I think we have a great balance in who we interviewed for the Phat Tuesday documentary. I mean, Reggie Hudlin and his team, you know, with the assistance of myself, I think we put together a great crew. I mean, some people I wanted in it that didn't make it, and some people made it that we could have done without. But in my opinion, but I'm gonna trust Reggie Hudlin. I mean, he's great. I hired a director to direct. I'm not going to be standing over his shoulder. And who am I?
Who micromanages Reggie Hudlin?
Exactly. That's the other part. That's like micromanaging God. Like, you're going to tell God who to save? No. Reggie Hudlin is a genius at TV, film, comic books, you name it. Everything he touches is gold. So, who's ever in it was supposed to be in it. I prayed on it too. And I ain't gonna front. I'm a Christian guy, so everybody who was in the documentary was supposed to be in the documentary. If they weren't in the documentary, then they weren't supposed to be in it, because I prayed for God to put in it who He felt should be in it. And there were some names I really wanted in it that we didn't get a chance to have in. Either they declined, or they just they passed, or we just didn't have time. So it happens. But the project is still a really, really great project, and there's more to come. And that's what kills me about the people who got mad and had some words for me that weren't in the first one. Like, this is not just the only project. This Phat Tuesday project is a brand, and it's gonna be Obese Tuesdays in a minute, because there's so many other things coming from it. And they're like, come on. I'm like, you know the business. You've been in the business just as long as I have, and you're crying about, one guy was crying saying that I didn't ask him to be in it when I did ask him to be in it, and he declined. And then when it came out and it got all the praise, he's like, "Oh, you didn't ask me." No, that's on you. Mm-hmm. I got receipts.
You're like, I'll send you back the screenshots.
Yeah, I got receipts of me asking you, and you decided to do something else that day. That has nothing to do with your career. So that was on that brother.
For sure. I mean, that was a great missed opportunity, but I'm excited that there's more to come. So is there anything you can share? No, I mean, just in general, is there anything you can share that's coming up that we can be excited that we can see, in case you're not coming to some of these people's cities, they can see you somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, there's working on my comedy special. Been working on that for years. I finally feel like I have something to say. I don't want to do a special just to be on TV to telling jokes. I want to have something to say. There's the book. There's a lot of stories we didn't get to in the Phat Tuesday documentary, and a lot of people we didn't get to talk to. So there's the book, and there's a podcast that we're creating as well. So it's going to be a lot of offsprings from the whole Phat Tuesday franchise.
So you're pulling a Nick Cannon with your projects. Okay.
Why not? Why not?
I mean, they're just as expensive and just as loving, I'm sure. I'm glad that you're doing all these great things and you're helping so many different people. But who was the biggest person that you felt like that helped you get in the door, or helped you get that next leap with going from comedy, going to film? Well, you started writing in comedy with Martin.
Right. Well, I mean, my brother was always be the inspiration. He was the one that really did stand up and entertainment first in the family. So he was definitely the one that inspired me to do stand-up. And then once I got into stand-up and I saw all the other avenues, then it was like, okay, I want to do this. Okay, I want to do that. And in Hollywood, you kind of got to do that. Doing a stand-up, some people may get tired of that flavor. So you got to, I tell young entertainers all the time, you got to learn it all. Learn acting, learn stand-up. You can sing, dance. That's how it was back in the day anyway. Try to do it all, write, produce, direct, because you'll always have yourself a check. And Martin told me that when I was a PA on the Martin show. Martin was the one who encouraged me to write. He said, learn how to write. He said, because you can always write yourself into a project. And that was, some great advice. And end up writing it, co-writing an episode of Martin and doing joke punch-up on the show. Joke punch-up is when they get a script and they want you to read it through and, make a better joke than what may have been written, or, say, oh, no, that works. So I was doing that for the Martin show and Moesha and some other sitcoms. So, it's It's you got to be like a pack of zebra gum. I don't know if y'all remember. I don't know if she'll make that gum, zebra nut gum.
Yeah,
They have
the
different
stripes
flavors.
gums?
Yeah.
I remember
But
that.
you had your grape, you had your strawberry, you had your
lasted like
lemon.
2 seconds.
Yeah. And, but you had all these different flavors, and that's how you got to be in Hollywood. You know, when they get tired of one, you got to have a new flavor. You get tired of that one, have a new flavor. So always be creating, always do different things. That's why social media is so great for this generation and even my generation, because now you can write, produce, edit, and star in your own joint. There's no excuses anymore. I don't live in LA. I don't live in New York. You don't have to now. You can live in Tupelo, Mississippi,
Or Cary, North Carolina.
Cary, North Carolina, and do your own thing, and somebody will see it. And someone told me about, and Phat Tuesdays, it was a gift from God, and it was an assignment. And they said, well, when you do something, when you work hard, and you do something from the heart, God will meet you there. So if you do stuff unselfishly, and you really are passionate about what you're doing, and you're doing it the right way, God gonna meet you there. You ain't gotta worry, you ain't gotta stress or worry about it. It's gonna get seen. It's gonna get done. I knew the Phat Tuesdays documentary would get done. I worked on it for 13 years, 9 years underground. So I always saw it being done. I didn't know when, but I kept at it, and I kept believing in it, and we got it done.
Now, I think you would be great as doing like a game show host or something like that, or even seeing you on Saturday Night Live doing different skits and anything. Is there any plans to do anything like that coming up?
I've had auditions back in the day for Saturday Night Live, and I just turned them down. I don't think I'm good at sketch comedy, that sort of thing. And that particular show, that legendary show, there's so many levels to that show. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that level of thing. But sketches, I am planning on doing my own style of sketches and things like that. But yeah, it's like game show host would be fun, and we'll see what's in the works.
All right, you heard it here first. All right, so is there anything else that you want to share with the people? Of course, they need to know to look at your show on Amazon Prime, but to also go to your website to find out everywhere you're touring in America, USA. Yeah. But is there anything else?
Stay tuned. My website is actually under construction right now, revamping it, redoing it. Follow me on social media at Guy Torry, GUYTORRY, and just keep supporting entertainment. Keep supporting the arts. We need y'all, not just comedians, but these social media artists, the singers, producers, writers, directors, and those of you who want to get in the field, work as hard as you can. If that's your passion, if that's your calling, then sacrifice and do it. Research it, but give your all to it. It's going to take a lot of sacrifices, and just put your heart into it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in to the E-Spot with Camille. And, of course, checking out my boy,
Torry, in the place to be.
Dropped out of YouTube University.
I've been kicked out of a whole bunch of universities. I was kicked out of Trump University. I was kicked out of, a whole bunch of universities.
Look, that closed. That was a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No competition, stay on the pivot. They be watching, they be plotting. She's so motherfucking independent. Mama be big, got on her grind. She had to get out her mama house. Daddy be tripping, now she be whipping. Ain't no more on granny couch. Fashion over, got that ass looking different. Make me wanna put her all in my mentions. Feeling like she was sent from above. Got me asking the Lord for forgiveness.